5 problems that are killing Umamusume Global. I wonder what that is. I mean, I still have a lot of fun with it, and I also never played the JP server, but let's see what he said. And that's a really nice cake of Malusensky.
Today, I want to talk to you about 5 problems in Umamusume that I firmly believe Cygames needs to get on top of for Global if they want to keep their players. And the reason is because the hype around Umamusume is declining, which is normal for a new...
I mean, like, looking at the graph, I don't think it falls down a lot. From 30Ks into like 20Ks.
Which is normal for a new game, especially when the sponsored creators have moved on, but also because Umamusume's game...
Yeah, I don't know about Emalu and the Tectone, but I do know that Asmon Gold is not sponsored. I don't think Tectone and Emaru take it either. They probably saw this game getting popular and saw Asmon Gold did it, so they just kind of like cash up with it.
Loop has now been revealed, and with so many upcoming gachas up...
Damn, the Malusensky swimming suit is like really hot, man. I mean, the golden chain makes it look much better.
The upcoming gachas up for release from innovative studios.
Yeah, there has been a lot of competitive, but I do think that Umamusume is like in a completely different demographic. It's just straight up a totally different genre.
My plan with this video is to inform and discuss and also directly send the feedback here from the comments to Cygames staff. So you're part of the people who can have an impact on the game and get Cygames to make quality life changes for Global much earlier than planned. But first, we need to discuss them. And before we do, I just want to say...
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. But I do think that the best way to complain about it is really to not spend in the game or just simply stop playing it out of like getting bored. I do think the initial complaint is definitely fine, the first waves of it, but when you are filing complaint for like over second time or third time, they probably don't take your complaint seriously. I mean, like, I did see that in the Genshin community. Like, the community itself has been complaining about the game for years, but they just don't change anything until there's this direct competitors come out. So I really don't think that filing complaint is the effective way to do it. And it's also the same with the Overwatch. There hasn't been a lot of huge change with Overwatch, aside from the balance change, until the Marvel Rival came out. So the best way to force a game change is just actually having another really strong competitors.
I love Umamusume. I think the global version came out at the perfect time before any upcoming and promising gacha releases, and also gave the gacha community a breather from Hoyo and Kuro games. So this isn't a hate video on Umamusume.
That's really true.
It's a video about the current state of the game,
I
why
agree
players
with that.
are frustrated,
Man,
what does the Japanese version have
man.
that we should, and what needs to be brought in immediately. So let's get into it. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. The first quality of life improvement that Global desperately needs is Uma archiving. And what I mean is the ability to write on a legacy/veteran Uma at the veteran list what they are for. Because how on earth are we supposed to stay organized, save time, and also remember which Uma is for what champions meet we've prepared? I don't want to constantly scroll through 200 Umas or having to remember everything I've done in this game. I know we can favorite them with this, but frankly that doesn't help me much either because I need to be able to name them as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. They should be able to like have a system to sort things out. But I also do think that after a CM match, you're probably gonna glue them anyway. Because in future patches, there would be other kinds of career event other than the URA. And the stat and the skill are going to be better. I mean, I never played the JP version, but I think it's foreseeable. Because the stat and the amount of skill that JP side has is freaking crazy, man.
And Umamusume is already an extremely time-consuming gacha in which you need to invest at least 1.5 hours a day to stay on top of everything. And as we're progressing through the champions meet with less intervals than the Japanese version had at launch and less time to prepare, having this now is so important. The Japanese version has this, so it does exist, and it's a quality of life improvement they brought in later because they realized how important it is. So my question is, why don't we have it right now? Let me know in the comments how you navigate around this.
Yeah, I think the reason that they don't implement this is probably more simpler than you guys think. Like, one, it's just easier to copy paste than trying to integrating the new system into the old system. And I think it's fair to say that they're lazy. I mean, like, with the amount of money that they are making right now, there's no excuse for them to not implement this sorting system. But I think they are probably doing it as some kinds of like time sink mechanics, because every single gacha game, they want you to stay in the game as long as possible. Before you realize that they trying to waste your time.
Personally, I've been writing down the exact rank number of each Uma I know I want to use, and next to it writing what I made it for. But I don't want to keep doing that. The second problem in Global that I think desperately needs a fix is sparks farming.
Yeah, I personally use the date acquired to sort it when I trying to like look for my ace for the champion meeting.
Right? But for blue sparks, I'm actually totally okay with the percentage RNG, but what I personally believe is necessary though is to work on the RNG being 1 to 5 chances of the stat you're.
Yeah, like the amounts of grind that you gotta go through is like pretty crazy, especially for a good parent. And ideally, you do want to get the pink spark with the distant
Actually after to get picked for your blue spark. I explained this thoroughly in our spark guide, but basically, not only are you.
And not to mention with some of the white spark with the skill, it makes the grind astronomically harder.
You're banking and hoping to get a 3-star blue spark
yeah,
so that your
really
legacy can
sucks,
pass
man.
down the max stat in whichever stat gets picked. But then you also got to hope that whichever stat does get picked is the one you're after, which is completely random and is at 1 out of 5 chances since there are 5 stat categories. So
yeah, by the way, the other factors that is more important than the white spark is the affinity. It means that you're gonna participate as much G1 race as possible for the parent. Even though if that means you're gonna get the lower stat at the end of the run, but who cares?
basically 2 layers of RNG on something that is extremely relevant to the game. Again, I think the star rating percentage is fair, but the 1 out of 5 is insanely harsh. Especially that completing most careers will take approximately 20 to 30 minutes per run. And if you
I mean, like, they should have removed the possibility to get other kind of spark that you don't want when one of your stat is reaching over 600. Because to get the right pink spark and the right white spark is already astronomically hard.
If you want to farm sparks 5 times a day with your TP, you can literally end up spending 2.5 hours of your free time with basically nothing to show for it. But hear this, the Japanese version has some crazy stuff around that. They allow you to spend 30 TP to reroll all your sparks, and any attempts after that will just basically cost you carats, which really has a pay-to-win feel to it, but there's also something called Target Spark, which is a function that costs 100 carats, which they added at the 1.5th anniversary where you...
Do you know what you guys... I think what we should do is really just go easy with it. Just settle with the 3-star spark and that's it. Just settle with the 3-star blue spark and that's it. Then we wait until the system implemented.
You can reroll a single spark instead of all of them. Now, I really like that you can reroll all of them for 30 TP, because this means that everybody who can only afford to do about 1 career per day, they'll be able to use an extra 30 TP to gain more value out of the time they spent in that career. But the problem is, again, is that they haven't brought this into global. And the time we've got to prepare between each champion's meet is accelerated compared to how the launch happened for the Japanese version. So we desperately need this now. And just to rub a little bit more dirt in this, in the 2nd anniversary of the Japanese Umamusume, they...
And yeah, I also agree with that. The accelerated time is really crazy. But to be fair, whoever grind the most would probably win. And of course, those who has the max Kitasan Blacks. Even with the accelerated schedule, we are still competing at the same baseline. So I don't really have much issue with that. But they do really have to implement these quality of life change quickly.
Also threw in something called Agnes Secret Lab, which was an event that allows you to increase your spark star rating, and that's for blue, green and pink sparks on your legacies. And that's awesome. I think if they were to bring an event like that in occasionally for...
Man, that is crazy, man. That is crazy. Imagine getting the right pink and the right blue and you spam all of these. Man, that is great.
Global right now at the start, it would do wonders for our community. They also have something in the Japanese version called Evolve Skills, where you can basically make skills better versions of themselves as well. But that was something that was introduced at the 2nd anniversary only.
So it's like inherit skill, but you could level it up.
Now for the 3rd one, and this is a really annoying one. As we all know, when your Uma receives what we call a blue condition, she'll receive a debuff that will affect her turns depending on which...
Yeah, I saw this video is going to be about his opinion with the state of the game, but it turns out to be very informative of the difference between Japanese version and the global version.
Which one? That means it's time for you to bring it to the infirmary or do a recreation and hope that you get the shrine scenario, which is 1 out of 3 chances, so not guaranteed. So you'll most likely go to the
really
infirmary.
Annoying.
And the problem is, the infirmary doesn't guarantee its removal either. You'll get energy, but the chances of the blue condition being removed are completely RNG based. Now imagine.
Sometimes I did the infirmary 3 times consecutively, and it doesn't heal. Like, what the hell was that? It is unacceptable, man.
Imagine you receive a condition, you use a turn for the infirmary, and the condition doesn't get removed. You go back to the infirmary again, and it doesn't get removed, and yet again, and it doesn't get removed, and again. And yes, I've seen this happen a dozen of times where I've failed 3 consecutive attempts to cure a blue condition, and that's enough to throw you off your entire career and all the time and effort that you spent on that career, because you're almost missing out on turns to train. So that initial career that you started really well with a purpose to build an Uma for team trials or the champions meet gets turned into a substandard spark farming run at best.
Yeah, that's really sucked, man. Like, I got this run with the Majiro McQueen. I got all the skill that I want early on. I even get the S-Distant early on. But then she suddenly gets sick. Then the run is like over. It sucks, man.
Basically an occasional middle finger from Cygames during my careers that actually just makes me want to forfeit and start over, which is not a good feeling.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling ever, man.
I'm sure that some of you have felt this way already. For the JP version, apparently they have like a good condition like perfect practice that you can get during a run called Lucky Constitution, which basically protects you from blue conditions more, but it would still seem that the infirmary has RNG. The next thing I would love to see in global ASAP.
And I think the reason they came up with all these mechanics is really just for the time sink mechanics. They want you to stay in the game as long as possible. And I think the reason behind it is the same with one of the rat experiment. Like one of those rat experiment where they allow rat to push a button, then they would get food, and they would only press it when they are hungry. But whereas if they don't get the food consistently after pushing the button, they would just keep pressing it furiously. And I think that's the same with all the gacha game and all the mechanics in the Umamusume. And somehow we are that rat. We are pushing it out of wishing that we're gonna get the better thing. And we would retry over and over again. So the design is intentional.
And that's the shared retry clock item for all races, including the ones you get to pick and schedule yourself. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally think that we should be able to choose whether or not to use our clocks for the races we schedule ourselves, as we get 1 free clock per day, which basically goes to waste every day for me now. But I know I would like to use this instead to often redo races where maybe I came 2nd or 3rd, and I'm not talking about the career G1 races where as long as you meet the fan requirement, you get to move forward. I'm okay with not having control there, but the optional races you get to choose each year, excluding the junior make debut, it would be great to be able to redo those races for more fans if you feel like the results weren't what you were hoping for. So for me, being able to choose...
for those who doesn't really train the parent or those who doesn't really understand how winning G1 matters, when you're training the parent, you have to win as much G1 race as possible. And when you lose the G1 race that you schedule, or getting the 2nd place, you're not gonna be able to get the hidden affinity, which you're gonna get for every G1 race. And that would largely affect the amount of spark that you're gonna get during the inspiration event in the career. So you're basically wasting energy and a turn for nothing. And it's because of RNG. And not even because your Uma is not strong enough. So I do agree with that.
Where I use my clocks or the free clock would be such an improvement. And the last thing that I really think needs improving in both global and JP is the TP point system, being training points. TP is a resource that is consumed for careers and acts as an energy system like you'll find in many gacha games.
What's wrong with that?
Basically limiting how frequently players can do careers per day. Only problem I have is the cap in Umamusume. It's way too small. 100.
Oh.
That's like the exact problem we had at Genshin Impact's launch.
Exactly.
Who has the time to log into a game every 6 hours per day to stay on top of that? I mean, really, this is so annoying because the main gameplay of this game being careers is already very long daily routine.
But to be fair though, for me who play it like suboptimally, I would only do as much as like 5 runs a day. But most of the time, I would only do 3 because it's actually very time consuming. But at least 100 TP is like pretty sufficient for the casual like me. But if you're grinding for like 8 runs a day, then I could see the problem with that. And I still got like 60% win rate. And I only has like 2 LB, Kitasan Black, and eventually won the 2nd place in the A group. So again, if you're going that far, you're probably going for the PvP. And pretty much any PvP game, it is inevitably gonna be harder. But I do think that asking for 200 TP is not asking a lot.
Losing TP means also losing opportunities for blue spark runs and CM building. I personally try to squeeze in 3 careers a day and I'm always on max TP. So I'm curious how you guys manage this, frankly. So please let me know, but ideally I would want this at 240. And that would give me options on my days off where I am available to farm and want to spend more time in the game. Because it's 30 TP per career, so 30 times 8 equals 240. So that allows us exactly 8 careers with 240 TP. And this is one of the things I'm really going to push on when I send the feedback over to Cygames and everything else, but also what you guys are going to share with me in the comments, so please do. All this to say that Umamusume is a great game and we all love and we want to continuously see succeed as we pace through the Japanese content. But in the process, I do believe Cygames needs to understand this is no longer 2021. This is 2025. We're entering a whole new era of gacha games which are heavily going to compete with their game, so they need
I think they probably don't care. As long as the money is flushing into their account.
to make sure that they are taking care of their players in the global version just as well.
And in fact, the better they do, the less they're gonna make the change. It's the sad reality that I've already seen these patterns in Genshin, in Honkai Star Rail, and for the game that is not doing as well like Zenless Zone Zero, they did the most improvement out of all the game in the MiHoYo. It is ironic.
Well as they are in the Japanese version, regardless of how quickly they got their quality of life improvements. And that's exactly what I'm going to push to them. But what do you think? Is there anything else you would really want to see Cygames do for Umamusume? Please let me know in the comments. So
yeah, I do think that we should really push it though. I'm not against that even though I think that wouldn't actually lead to the change. But I do think that we should file some of it to the side game, cause they have been making a lot of money out of the global version. We do deserve better, but definitely be polite when you are filing the complaint, cause they would probably skip all the comments that seems to be written by a crazy person. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you wanna do it right.
we can discuss it as well. That's it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And I'll do my part and bring you more Umamusume videos filled with tips and tricks to help you succeed. This was Static. Remember to have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.
I was expecting myself getting into this video disagreeing with a lot of things, but it turns out I just agree with pretty much everything. Great videos. And I do find that his guides are pretty helpful, so go like and sub to support him. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, see you guys.